Hey guys, what's up? It's Erica. Welcome to or welcome back to my channel. If you guys are new here, please make sure to subscribe. I'm posting every single day for the month of February, so make sure to subscribe so you don't miss out on my next videos. For today's video, I'm going to be talking about the 5 worst things about living in San Francisco. I have lived in San Francisco for the past 2 years. Overall, I have enjoyed it. I am from the Bay Area. I'm from San Jose, which is about an hour away from San Francisco, so I did grow up like visiting the city a lot. I moved there right before COVID started, so definitely COVID has affected my entire experience living there. Overall, I do like it. I would like to spend a few more years there, but with every city there are definitely cons. So today this video is just going to be the 5 worst things about living in San Francisco. So number 1 would be the parking. I personally have a car, and I actually got lucky because the apartment that I have came with a parking spot, which is so rare. It is rare, one, to just like have a parking spot. If your apartment or condo or even like a house does have a parking spot, it is normally like really expensive to pay like the monthly thing. Sometimes it can be upwards of like $350 a month for a parking spot. And street parking is just not really ideal a lot of the time. The next thing are the prices. I think that New York City and San Francisco go back and forth between being the cities with the highest rent prices. Definitely COVID helped even out the prices a little bit, but they're going back up again. For reference for rent prices, I live in a 2-bedroom, 1.5 bath apartment in Lower Pack Heights, and our rent began at $3,800, and then we got it lowered because of COVID, so it's $3,420 now, and I'd say that's pretty standard. My boyfriend was living in the city. He was living in a 2-bedroom, 2-bath apartment in the Nob Hill area, and I think his total rent price was $3,700. Both of our places came with parking spots, which is literally so rare, and we're so lucky that we got those. But that gives you kind of an idea for price. I also have a ton of apartment hunting videos and luxury apartment tours videos to give you like more ideas of money and what you can get in the city. And not only are rent prices really high, but if you go out to eat, I do feel like that prices at restaurants are a little bit more expensive than the suburbs. Also, grocery stores. That's probably one of the things that I notice the most. Our grocery stores. Sometimes I work in Palo Alto, so sometimes I'll go to the Trader Joe's in Palo Alto, and for example, I think like mushrooms are like 60 cents more expensive in the city than they are in Palo Alto, which is just annoying. The next downside are the hills in the city. From like the outsider's perspective, the hills make San Francisco, one, what it is. I feel like it's just iconic for their hills, and it's also makes for some like really pretty views, but living there can be kind of a bear, especially if I didn't have a car and I had to walk to and from the grocery store. That could just be a lot, and it's sometimes annoying that the actual distance from place to place is not very far, but because of the hills, you just get more exhausted and it takes you longer. And like it can just be more difficult if you're trying to carry stuff. Number 4 is how dirty the city is. I definitely think this has gotten worse since COVID. One, David and I have both noticed that there are no trash cans anywhere. So if you are like carrying something around, there's just no place to throw it out if you have trash, which I feel like just leads to more people littering because there's just tons of trash. Beyond that, there's a lot of human waste because a lot of like homeless people who live on the streets. A lot of people do heroin and crack, and so like I often see like needles on the sidewalk, which is kind of scary because obviously that could be really dangerous and have a lot of germs. There are definitely certain neighborhoods that have it less. In Lower Pack Heights where I live, it's a little bit less, but where David was living in Nob Hill, it was definitely more prevalent there. I feel like most people who I talk to that live there say it is probably one of the dirtiest cities they have ever been to. That's just kind of the reality of it. There's a lot of like really beautiful parts and parts that aren't dirty, but there are some really dirty parts. And the last thing that I have on this list is safety/crime. Like I mentioned, I did get a parking spot and it was in a garage, but my car did get broken into in my garage. They climbed through like the window of our lobby and then got into the garage. They shattered my sunroof. I looked like I had a lot of stuff in my car, but none of it was valuable. So that was honestly like, I shouldn't have left stuff in my car, but I just kind of felt like it's in the garage. How is anybody gonna get to it? But they did. I mean, for living there for 2 years and only getting my car broken into once, that's really not bad. But cars on the street get broken into constantly. I feel like car break-ins are probably one of the most common things to happen in San Francisco. Personally, I never feel like too unsafe, but obviously in any big city, like you do have to be cautious about your safety. Of course, if you like download the Nextdoor app, you're gonna be terrified to go outside. There have been certain things, and I think crime in general definitely went up, I think everywhere when COVID was like really at its peak. Some of those things are just kind of like with every city, and like I said, I've lived there for 2 years. I do hope to live there for a few more years. With all of its downsides, it's really cool to live in a big city and get that experience, and there are some like really beautiful parts of the city and really nice parts. Those are my top 5 things that I think are worst about living in San Francisco. Thank you guys so much for watching, and I will see you guys tomorrow in my next video.